Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray for that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process in our city. We pray for direction, which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call a roll?
Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Here.
Counsel Mercia.
Here.
Counsel Milanazzo.
Here.
Counsel Rourke.
Here.
Counsel Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Belanger.
Here.
Counsel Elliott.
Here.
That's 9 present.
Thank you. The first order of business is the minutes of the City Council special meeting on auditor interviews for February 29th, the Technology and Utilities Subcommittee for March 1st, the City Council meeting for March 1st for acceptance. Motion to accept, place on file by Counsel Mercia, second by Counsel Rourke. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next item is the vote to appoint a city auditor. Mr. Clerk.
Yes, members, the voting will go, we'll call the roll, and you will indicate which candidate you wish to select as a city auditor for the city of Lowell. We'll go around in the roll, and once an individual reaches 5, then that'll be the end of it. If that does not happen, the roll will keep going until a individual reaches 5. After that selection, we'll just have a vote before you to set the to appoint that individual and to set a salary, if it pleases the body.
Will clerk, any discussion? Will clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kennedy.
Mr. Perry.
Counsel Leahy.
Mr. Perry.
Counsel Leary.
Mr. Perry.
Counsel Mercia.
John Linehan.
Counsel Milanazzo.
Brian Perry.
Counsel Rourke.
Brian Perry.
Counsel Samaras.
Brian Perry.
Counsel Belanger.
Brian Perry.
Counsel Elliott.
John Linehan.
That's 7 votes for Mr. Perry and 2 votes for Mr. Linehan.
Mr. Mayor,
Counsel Mercia.
in a motion of unanimity, and the reason I picked John Linehan is because when 2 people I feel are pretty adequately tied, I like to give the edge to the Lowellian. So seeing that he has the majority of votes, I'll change my vote to Mr. Perry.
Counsel Elliott.
Yeah, I concur, Mr. Mayor. For the same reason, I'd like to, that's the reason why I voted for Mr. Linehan. When both candidates are of equal caliber, I like to go with a local person, but in the spirit of unanimity, I like to also change my vote. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no objection by general agreement, the clerk will reflect that the vote is 9 votes for Mr. Perry as the new city auditor. Chair would entertain a motion to appoint for a 3-year period and to set the salary. Counsel Milanazzo.
Which I understand is $97,192.68 plus the retirement stipend of $4,500, which brings the salary to $101,800.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Counsel Milanazzo, seconded by Counsel Mercia. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milanazzo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Mr. Mayor, My first choice was really Bob Healy, but he wouldn't hear of it.
I think Mr. Haley was everybody's first choice, but we just couldn't get him to stay. If we had that Cambridge money, maybe we could have induced him to. Next, being before 7 o'clock, we'll skip ahead beyond the public hearings to.
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
if I could just, thank you. On
Councilman
behalf of my colleagues, I'd like to thank Mary Gallery for the work that she put in over the many months looking for a city auditor. And I just want to publicly thank her for her efforts on behalf of the council. So, thank you.
Moving on to item number 4, communications from the city manager. We have motion responses A through E. We'll begin with A, Bridge Street Business Corridor Improvement. Any discussion? Council Leary.
Just quickly, first, thank you very much through you to your staff. There was an excellent start to it. Just some feedback that, regarding the Couple Square, the involvement that your team has had working with the business community is definitely showing some progress. And I think basically, after we had that meeting probably a month, maybe 2 months ago, at Couple Square, where they came out and showed additional concerns. You take the initiative in allowing for some of that parking issues at the Leroy parking spot to really improve. So basically, they have 6 free spots, and they have an additional, I think it's an hour, maybe 2 hours of free parking, based on that type of meeting. So I think using that plan is something we can start to work on. Bridge Street, I think, will be a benefit to not only to Centerville, but the entire city and to hopefully the tax base. And again, it's not going to be the same as Couple Square because it's going to have unique needs that are going to fit that particular dynamic. But I think the process in terms of listening, looking at opportunities, both grant funding and other sources, I think will be positive for the city. So I'm optimistic about Couple Square. I think some of those changes are still evolving. I think we're seeing some of those improvements are actually, the construction's actually occurring in some of the buildings. I think after people get a feel of it, we can measure whether that's successful and take that same type of approach and go over to Bridge Street in that area and begin in that area to really develop it, assist where we can, stay out of the way where it doesn't need to be, have our involvement, and hopefully show some success there as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I agree with Council Leary. One thing, Mr. Manager, I'd like to have this report sent to the Centerville Neighborhood Association so they can have this report in front of them. This plan actually outlines the steps that will be taken after the VFW and Bridge Street intersection is completed in the fall of 2016. I think what's important about this plan is it talks about establishing a Centerville business district, and I think that's important. It also it talks about working with the neighborhood groups, and I think we've come a long way in this area. And I think this is a notice that every neighborhood association and business corridor in the city should take notice of, because it's a positive direction that the city is working on. And I view these, and I've said it before, these business districts as the spoke of the wheels in the city of Lowell, and they're important spokes. So thank you, Mr. Manager, for the work that was done in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to item B, which is 350, 352 Wilder Street. Any discussion on item B? Hearing none, we'll move on to item C, the Andover Street Repair Plan. Any discussion on item C? Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. Any idea on when they just might start replacing some of the asphalt patches?
Mr. Manager.
I understand that from the report, we have to hire a contractor, so it'll go out to bid or something like that.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor, through you. Hopefully we'll be getting more in Chapter 90 funding. We can look at that, but also in a capital budget, hopefully look at some money to help out with that, but it's right on top of our radar screen.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. Can we also look at doing signage on Andover Street? As you know, there's 2 travel lanes, and then the middle lane is the turning lane. And again, I'm seeing people using the turning lane as a travel lane, which can be dangerous. So if we could do better signage as well as maybe even some striping as we improve the surface, maybe do some striping as well. Thank you.
Any further discussion on item C? If not, we'll move on to the next two items, which are informational. The first is the Lowell Police and Fire Grant Funding for 2015. Any discussion? Council Mercier, and then
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very happy to see that there's funds available and grants that people in the police department are taking advantage of. When you read the newspaper and you see where other towns missed a deadline or they failed to go after a particular grant, it's always nice to know that we have people in our city that are right on top of things, and it's a lot of money coming in, and I'm very proud of Mariana Bellata and all the things that she does, and anybody else who does the grant writing. Thank you.
thank you, Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. Just bounce off of Council Mercer's remarks. How do we know when grants open and the deadlines and so forth? Is there something that comes through your office of when those things happen?
Mr. Manager.
Thank you. I'll have the, and if deputy, the new deputy, interim deputy, if you could come up, I just want the, I don't know if you've, interim deputy chief for after Arthur Ryan's retirement is Jack Webb, that was proud to appoint as the interim deputy, so he can get in the line of fire right now tonight too. Is basically what we do. We get a lot of missives and over email and everything from the Department of Justice, from the Department of Public Safety, and they alert us to grants that are available. But I'd have, Chief, could you just tell us how do we become aware of various grants that are available, especially now that it's a public safety grant writer? We want to make sure we're aware of not only police grants, but we want to make sure we're aware of fire department grants also.
That's right. Thank you very much through you and the mayor to the council. The Public Safety Research and Development Program, which Mary Ann Bellata oversees, and they all do collectively an unbelievable job. What they do is we do get email notifications when grants become available. In addition to that, they're very proactive, and they're constantly researching the Department of Justice, Department of Fire Services, emergency management grants, both state, federal, and increasingly private funds that are available. Then when we get an opportunity that a grant becomes available, we sit down as a team, make an evaluation whether that grant fits into the needs of the city, if they're in the best interest when we consider our strategic goals for the city. Some grants, quite candidly, don't always fit in. The match is too big, or the things that the grants promote really are not something that we may be interested in long term. So we always do have an evaluation. Then we bring them before the city has a grant review committee now that makes a similar determination if it's in the best interest of the city if we go forward, and then they apply for them. They are, without question, under Mary Ann's leadership, the best grant research and coordination of any municipality in the state. They do an unbelievable job. I hear very often from other police chiefs and fire chiefs in the Commonwealth that they're very envious of the grants that we receive. And you can see in the last calendar year, collective police and fire, we've received over $5 million.
Council.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anything, Mr. Manager, we're waiting for to hear back from as far as any types of grants that we've
Sorry, I didn't
applied
hear
for?
I didn't.
I know we have a firefighters grant that we're waiting to hear back from, but are there any police grants we're waiting to hear back from?
You know, we are in the process of making an evaluation between two different grant possibilities. Both of them federal, to fund long-term our co-op program, which is a community overdose outreach program to try and make proactive inroads to opiate addicts and try and encourage them to get into treatment. We've been, the beneficiary of a Circle Health initiative this past weekend down in Boston, where they channeled, I haven't got the final total yet, but it's certainly going to be in the vicinity of $30,000 to fund that initiative with the health department, the police department, and Lowell House over the short term, say for about a year. But we need long-term funding for that, so we're trying to evaluate the best way to go with that. There's two different grants that are 3 years in length, a substantial amount of money. When we get that, when we decide which one affords us the best opportunity at success, we'll probably bring that to the manager's grant management team.
Great. Just one more, Mr. Mayor, thanks, I'll be done.
Yes, sure.
Superintendent, DA Marion Ryan today unveiled a plan for an outreach program to
Yes.
family members affected by opiate overdoses. Is Lowell Police involved in that in any way?
Yes, we are. That program is, her term is Operation CARE, and it's designed to be a partnership between the Mental Health Association of Greater Lowell, the District Attorney's Office, and the Lowell Police and Fire Departments. And what it entails basically is when we go to the scenes of these overdoses, very often we encounter either evidence that children were present, or we, in some cases, unfortunately, find actually children that were present when potentially one of their parents suffered from an overdose, and sometimes even fatal overdoses. Those children are the silent victims of this epidemic as we go forward. So I think the district attorney showed a very good initiative. She came to us with it. Obviously, we were very supportive of this initiative. And what it is going to do is a first responder, police, a firefighter, EMS on the scene, they will call a manned hotline number to the Mental Health Association of Greater Lowell, who will do a triage immediately over the phone with the police firefighters, and they'll arrange to get those children into counseling very, very quickly, within 24 hours, and they'll also work to provide kind of an overall comprehensive approach between the schools, DYS, DCS, and the counseling services, obviously, to try and make sure that we can get the children the help that they obviously need so that we can potentially break this repetitive cycle generations ahead.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? Counselor Elliott.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate the significance of this report, and to me, it reflects certainly the dedication, but the tenacity that both of these departments, and I know this is citywide, the nature of our effort to go after grant funds. I mean, this is significant money, and the money is significant, but I think it's the breadth of the programs that it addresses throughout the city, whether it's gangs or there's money for our public schools, public health. I mean, it's really very diverse, and it does provide significant services throughout the city that the people at home may not be aware of. So I appreciate the report because it compiles all the grants that we go after and all the services and all of the efforts that we make across a very broad spectrum of public safety. It's not just, we're not just hiring police officers. There's programs being run with UTech and Career Center of Lowell, and I think this would be good to have online for people to see exactly. You know, $5 million is good, but where is it going? And it's going to so many different programs.
You know, I will say, Counselor, you're absolutely right, and to really expand upon that, for several years, the City of Lowell Fire Department applied for the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security. Actually, it's the Federal Emergency Management Agency grant, the $1.9 million to fund additional firefighters' positions. They came up short. It was the leadership of this council and the city manager that decided to put the fire department under the umbrella of, a public safety research and development grant program. And so through that effort and Mary Ann and her team's effort, they were able to go in, take that application, refine it, put it back in this time, and it was successful to the tune of $1.9 million. And so, you can't get any better results than that. They have another one that I know that they're looking, hopefully the next one that they've working on for the fire department is a apparatus for equipment and breathing apparatus, and also I think a couple of fire trucks. And I know that's a very substantial grant. We haven't found out yet whether they'll be successful, but if the previous success is any indication, I've got my bet that they will. So.
Well, I think it also speaks to the fact that many of these funders, they award grants to communities that spend it appropriate in a timely manner and get results. So I think that's the other piece that we should be commended. The city should be for certainly applying and receiving it, but also spending it and getting results from it. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, did you have anything to add?
Yes, the importance of that fire department grant is that if we get it, it totals $2.3 million for a rescue apparatus and aerial apparatus and scuba equipment. That's money that we normally would have to fund out of a capital plan, and we're able to now, if we don't have to, we can now use that capital money for the streets and sidewalks and other issues that we need. So the grant money really frees up money for other processes and other issues that we need to address in the city. So it's all great stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to item E, which is firearm activity for 2015. Any, Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, some more good news. That was very encouraging on the amount of grants the city of Lowell receives, but I think this is equally good news here tonight regarding the firearm activity in 2015, that the city made great improvements in 2015 in public safety. What stands out alone to me is that there was not one homicide in 2015 in the city of Lowell. Gun crimes are down significantly by large percentages in some categories. And that is through the collaboration of the efforts of this council, the administration, and Superintendent Taylor by forming the 8-member gang unit, that becoming active. So through you, Mr. Mayor, while the chief's at the podium, I'd like him to elaborate for the folks at home and let, you know, when it comes to public safety, we can never stop improving. But 2015 was a good year through the collaboration of a lot involved. So I'd like the chief to elaborate a little more on the report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Chief.
Thank you, Councilor. Through you, Mayor, to the members of the City Council. Absolutely, I agree. This is very good news for the city. And it's a result of not only, you know, the men and women in the police department. They are working tirelessly, and I think the results speak for themselves, doing a tremendous job. But it's a citywide effort. It involves the leadership of the council. It involves all the various neighborhood groups coming together, you know, supplying information and giving us support in the community. So it's very good news. And what we can say is that last year, there was a 32% reduction in incidents involving a firearm in the city. Compared to 2014, and that includes a 65% reduction in armed robberies using a firearm, a 24% reduction in shots fired incidents across the city. As the council mentioned, there were no fatal shootings in the city in 2015, and a 53% reduction in non-fatal shootings in 2015. That's extremely good news. And shots fired calls, which is had been plaguing us and going in the wrong direction for a couple of years, they were reduced by 47% last year. So that's additionally tremendous news. And another thing, largely focused on the patrol force, but also because of the efforts of this new gang unit that we put together, we saw 70 illegal firearms seized in the city, which is a 17% increase from the previous year. So that's all very good news, and you know, we're not being complacent on this. We'll continue to try and move forward and get more illegal firearms off the street, and continue to, you know, do everything we possibly can to make this crime trend keep going down.
Thank you, Chief. Any further discussion? Councilor Samaras, then Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Chief Taylor, no, this is a great report. But I think you should also include in this report is all the work you've been doing with the neighborhood groups, because a lot of these reports, or parts of these reports, are being reported out at every neighborhood meeting, and I think the neighborhood groups can speak for themselves. But getting good information, timely information, and also ideas on how they can work together with you, I think this has helped, because I think what you've done with the neighborhood groups and reports like this, you're bringing the community together in a tighter fashion. And as that, we work better. So thank you for all of this.
Thank you. Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the superintendent. A few years back, you recall that a house was broken into in the acre and a number of firearms were stolen. How many of those have been recovered to date?
You know, I don't know, Councilor, but I can tell you not all of them.
Not all of them.
Not all of them. That was an arsenal in that neighborhood, which was shocking.
Really?
And we didn't even know about it.
Okay.
But I know some of them were recovered, but certainly
I
not
do
all.
remember reading some of them. I just didn't know if, and again, what comes to mind, I guess, is a gun show this weekend in Wilmington. And I'm
Right.
just, again, thinking about whether or not, I'm sure they do, but I should say, I hope they do. They have the controls that they need to have, that people are not selling illegal firearms at at that gun show. So I'm hoping that that's not happening. So again, it's
Right.
kind of I've read where, people can go in there and, maybe not in Massachusetts, but in other parts of the country at gun shows, and can buy guns that you and deputy would not want to see in the streets of Lowell.
Absolutely right. Absolutely, I agree.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Counselor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief, good news, certainly we see the significant reduction, certainly even in gunshots, down by 47%. What do you attribute that to, number one? And number two, reactivating that gang unit clearly has paid dividends, a motion by Councilor Mercy
Right.
to bring that back. Would you foresee expanding that unit to continue the effort, seeing that there's progress, or
I certainly wouldn't be opposed to it, but it would depend upon the need. We'd have to make an evaluation to see if we've got the right number of officers in it right now. And what do I see the cause of this reduction? I think it's pretty comprehensive. I think the increase in personnel that the council has supplied to the police department over the past couple of years, it's approximately 20 additional officers. It can't be overstated how beneficial that is to the community. And then if you deploy them appropriately and put them in positions where they're out in the community trying to, problem solve and identify issues before they become the next crime generator, that's also very important. The gang unit is a big component of it. There's also things that happen behind the scenes, We launched an investigation with our federal partners about a year and a half or so ago. We identified a particular group, an element in the city that was very destructive and causing a great deal of havoc. We brought in ATF to work with us. They supplied us with a lot of federal resources. That was a very good targeted investigation that took quite a few individuals off the street and confiscated quite a few weapons. That's something that people don't see, but it's those type of intelligence gathering, analysis, and working with partners that can be critical to providing a baseline for public safety. And then all the other things play on top. The other thing is that you saw the grant funds that we received. Over $3 million last year. A lot of that is pass-through money that goes to social service agencies in the city that provides support and counseling for people to keep them out of gangs and disruptive behavior. The UTEX, the Boys and Girls Club, the school department is a beneficiary for quite a few of it, Girls Inc. So a lot of those funds come to the police department as the financial agent in applying for those grants, and then we give them out to our partners in the community so that they can go out and, in turn, identify people that are at risk and run programs in the city that keeps kids out of trouble. So it's really a community-wide effort that really leads to this success.
Yeah, no, I agree, Chief, and I think that's what we have stressed in the last 4-6 years. Putting more personnel on to swell the ranks to numbers that neighborhood groups see more support. Neighbors, people in the neighborhood see police officers. We have them on bikes, we have them on motorcycles, we have them throughout the city, and I think it's important. I think we need to continue that trend.
Right.
Quite frankly, I mean, luckily we have been successful in these grants because, as the manager indicated, somewhere someone has to pay for these, and it's all tax money, but it's good that we're the recipient of it. So I think it's important that we continue. What are the number of sworn police officers right now?
Currently, in the beginning of this past, the current fiscal year that we're in, we're at 245,
Okay.
which is still, 15 positions below our high.
Right.
We applied and received a grant for 3 additional officers around the beginning of the year, so we'll be at 248 now, and there's a potential we may get a couple more in the budget cycle. So I think you're absolutely right. It's very important to let the citizens of the city know that everybody's combined efforts here, and the money that the citizens are investing and the council's approving is going in the right direction, and it's making a significant difference in keeping this city safe.
And I hear it from people that I think the city is becoming a more safer place, especially with reports that we see here with, more illegal guns taken off the street, less gunshots. But as was mentioned, we can never, we need to continue to be vigilant.
We will.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? Counselor Rowe.
Just one question, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Chief, is the plan for this spring and summer similar to last season when you had police officers at baseball fields, parks?
Yes.
Those types of
Absolutely.
areas?
Absolutely. You can't, the more officers I have out in the field, in uniform, interacting with the community, being in parks and Little League fields and interacting, building those relationships, those non-confrontational relationships with people in the community, that's where you build the trust, that's where you start the dialogue, and that is absolutely critical.
I thought it went very well last year, so I'm glad to
Thank
hear that. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Rourke. Any further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to give a round of applause to our new deputy here, Jack Robinson. All right, Jack.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank you and the council and the manager for the warm welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Best of luck. All right, if there's no other discussion on item E, the chair would entertain a motion to accept and file the communications from the city manager. We have a motion to that effect by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Being just after 7 o'clock, we'll go back to item 3. We have 3 public hearings for this evening. The first public hearing is a vote to accept Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 60A, Section 1, Paragraph 8, to waive the excise tax for motor vehicles owned and registered by active members of the armed forces. We'll open up the hearing on behalf of the proponents. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the ordinance?
I wanted to thank everybody here.
Excuse me,
I wanted to thank everybody here.
I need your name and address first, sir.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My name is Roland Cartier, Jr., and I had the opportunity to serve Lowell as part of the Veterans Commission, which I have a few of the commissioners behind me. And the reason I was extracted to talk tonight was at the bequest of the city manager and also Eric LaMarche, the Veteran Service Officer. And in regards to this in particular, I think it's a small token of our appreciation for the active military to at least give them that. When I served during Vietnam, in Connecticut is where I went in. Of course, I only had 17 years in Connecticut. The rest has been here. They gave us waive the fee for our licenses as well, but at least this would be a small token in which Lowell has been doing very well in the veteran community, and I can speak highly of it. I serve on the subcommittee and the Veterans Commission, and I want to thank all of you at the City Council, the City Manager, and the Mayor for allowing me to speak. If any of them want to speak, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Hey, anybody else that wants to speak in favor?
My name is Erica Haddad. I live on Holden Street in Lowell. I'm also a member of the commission. And I think that the difference between active duty and veterans are active duty members are just veterans who have not yet come home, and they will come home. They have a lot of things to worry about while they're overseas or while they're stationed where they're stationed. And having one less thing for them to worry about would just be wonderful, and I think that they have earned that.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Geraldine Lantigua, and I do live in Lowell. I graduated Lowell High School, currently attending UMass Lowell. I left the Marine Corps about 1.5 years ago, and one of the things that kind of irritated me was that everything that was mine and all of my mail was given to my permanent address. One of the small details was that I was never home. So sometimes the mail, such as the taxes, would come to my home. I wouldn't receive them, they'd increase. And I wasn't aware of my mail, so it would increase, and I just think this would be one less issue that any active duty member would have to, tackle. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition? Anybody in opposition? 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 Hearing none, we'll close the hearing. What's the wishes of the council?
Move approval.
We have a motion to approve by Council Elliott, seconded by Council Belanger. Discussion, Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank the speakers tonight for coming out, and also thank you for your service to our country. And secondly, it's a great motion by Council Leahy. Congratulations on bringing that to the manager's desk, and I'm very happy to see how fast it was turned back to us, and we could vote this in. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Council Leahy.
Thank you. I also want to thank the speakers for coming down tonight, and I did want to thank the manager for getting this done so fast. So not a surprise, but thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
The next public hearing is an ordinance to amend Chapter 171, Article 4, entitled Nuisance Posting. We'll open up the hearing on the behalf of the proponents. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Eric Schlegel. I'm the Director of Development Services. I did want to speak in favor of this ordinance change. This ordinance change was as a result of the motion of the council to attempt to tackle commercial minimum maintenance and other kind of commercial property issues that are arising around the city. So my staff took the input of the council and worked to come up with what we thought were some sensible regulations to allow us to do some enforcement of the issues that we see every day arising from various commercial endeavors across the city. So this ordinance and the next ordinance on the docket are the result of those that drafting effort. I do think it will assist us in tackling the troublesome properties around the city and be able to get rid of all the illegal activity that we sometimes see that are plaguing some of the neighborhoods.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? Anybody else in favor? In favor?
Edward Caulfield, 589 Princeton Boulevard, Lowell. Mr. Mayor, members of the Lowell City Council, Mr. Manager, and your assistants. I was here 3 months ago to discuss the property at 493 Princeton Boulevard. But I want to preface my remarks before I talk on that subject matter. There's been quite a few buildings that have been demolished in the city over the last 6 months, and rightfully so. But there was always stipulations with that demolition. Every single piece of debris had to be picked up, and every demolition site had to be filled in with clean fill. There was a building demolished on Middlesex Street, diagonally across from Dunkin' Donuts, approximately 1514 Middlesex Street. And the building was an eyesore for decades, but now it's gone. If members of the council should drive by that site, you will see clean fill, clean, neat, and presentable. And the reason I'm bringing that forward, the business at 493 Princeton Boulevard has been a total, deplorable, disgraceful piece of property. It's been that way last December. It was that way last July. I came before this council asking this council to do something. And I want to thank Mike McGovern for calling me at the end of January, because I contacted the manager's office. And the owner of this property is ignorant, arrogant, and he's given the city the arm and hammer salute constantly. He didn't fill in those tanks with clean fill. It was debris that he filled them in with. It was scrub fill. And my good friend, my neighbor, Penny, will present the council with pictures and show to you that that site is not leveled off, it's not graded. And worse than that, Mr. Mayor, he was granted a license to sell cars at that site. And I'm not too happy with the License Commission either. Part of that stipulation was that property had to be neat, clean, and presentable at all times. It's nothing more than a junkyard. Now, members of this council, some of you had signs on Princeton Boulevard last October, November. You had them on Baldwin Street, you had them on Middlesex Street, you had them in the entire neighborhood. I haven't seen any positive results pertaining to 493 Princeton Boulevard. Now, I've learned that there's a subcommittee meeting Monday, a neighborhood subcommittee meeting Monday. I hope it's going to be publicized so people in the neighborhood can attend that meeting. The owner of this property, this businessman, does not care about you, does not care about the neighborhood. He is totally into himself. The pictures you're going to see are dump trucks full of junk, a bobcat sitting in the yard, a big, huge steak truck loaded with debris and junk. The place hasn't been leveled, it hasn't been graded, and I want something done about it. When the judge asks you to raise your right hand and swear that you will uphold the Constitution of this city, you all raised your right hand and said, yes, I will. You represent every citizen in the city, not just a few in Belvedere or Centerville or Pawtuckaville. You do represent them in Middlesex Village. And we want some representation from this city council. Thank you.
Anybody else who would like to speak in favor?
Hi, I'm Penny Cartier. I live at 71 Laureate Street. I've been here before. Mr. City Manager, I've sent Heather tons and tons of pictures of what I have to look at, what my wheelchair-bound, handicapped sister has to look at. And I called her tonight, and I asked her if you saw them yet, and she goes, no, but I can make sure he does. Why am I sending pictures then? I've written letters to the city councilors. I've called Sean Shanahan personally myself after Rita asked him to come help me. He doesn't return my phone calls. With all due respect, I feel that the city does not care about us. I have begged, as I told you before, for over 8 years asking for help. I even gave a copy of my property taxes. My property taxes are $3,555.02. And what I look at outside my window is a junk yard. Why? Why? I didn't buy my house with a junkyard out there. And this man, he tells me to go F myself, that it's his property and he'll do what he wants. Then he threatens to have my neighbors, who are homeowners, deported if they come here. And I have a note from my neighbor asking me to speak for him tonight. So I was so happy when we came to the last meeting and Rita was going to help and Bud Caulfield and the 28 signatures we got, but we've got nothing done. One night he jackhammered from 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. I called the police went there, they did nothing. Bud Caulfield was driving by, he heard it, and he talked to me, he called the police. The man told him, oh, I got permission to jackhammer from 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. Well, who? He couldn't tell anybody, so he downright lies. But he tortured us all day long. Why? Because that's what he does. He was not supposed to have anything behind a blue garage. It stated that there was only supposed to be grass back there. You're supposed to keep the lot up, and you're supposed to keep the neighbors happy. None of us are happy, but I'm the one who comes here and speaks for everybody, because I have Vietnamese neighbors, so they're kind of quiet, so it's me. And I'm just begging you, please, give them a cease and desist order. I mean, what do I gotta do? Seriously, what do I gotta do?
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? Hearing none, close the hearing on behalf of the proponents. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition? Anybody in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Close the hearing on behalf of the opponents. What's the wishes of the council? Council Mercia, then Council Leahy.
There's no sense to have an ordinance and reinforce it and not do anything about it. I would like a closure for these people. I don't know what we have to do that, but I thought when you opened up a business and you got a permit contingent upon what you would do with that property, and if it said that you had 6 cars that you could sell, I don't know why there should be 15, and we're not doing anything about it. People pay $3,000 in real estate taxes. I don't think they deserve to look out the window and see a junkyard. I truly sympathize with these people, and I wish we could get closure here to this. I don't know what he's getting away with, but it's not right.
Thank you, Council Leahy.
Thank you. I just want to say that, thank you for coming down and speaking. We do hear you. We went through the same thing on Swan Street. It took a while, but the manager works with the council, and that's why we put this ordinance together, and we're definitely going to deal with that property. But it takes a few months. It takes a little bit of time. We put this together, and now we have no excuses. So we're going to get that property taken care of, but this is a big step in that direction that gives the city some teeth and to really go down and enforce this. So I'd like to thank the manager and his staff and Eric Sagel and his office for putting this together.
We have a motion to approve, Council Leahy?
Yes, yep.
Motion to approve, second by Council Elliott. Council Elliott, then Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a good motion. It's a good ordinance. We need something with teeth, but we need to be able to take a bite of that. Mr. Manager, can you get this council a report, as well as perhaps for the neighborhood meeting coming up, the status of it, the violations, and if there were and there are violations, what were the conditions of the licensing commission to issue that license? I mean, there should be some accountability that. I know we do this with other permits, that if you don't pay back taxes, if you're not in compliance, then we're not going to issue certain other permits. But I think it's important to address this, and I know the building commissioner is, but I think we need to step up our efforts. You do drive by. We do have minimum maintenance standards to begin with right now, and let's take it to the next level and put this, if he was issued a license, he needs to be in compliance with all the other building or code issues in the city. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For clarification purposes, is this hearing, is this the nuisance posting hearing right now, or are we on to the?
We're on item 3.2.
2.2, okay, I'm sorry. Well, in any case, these residents need some relief. This has been ongoing. They've been in front of this council at least a handful of times, and enough is enough. Now, we do have a neighborhood subcommittee meeting at Temple Bethel, just right up the street from this parcel here that Councilor Rourke chairs, and he has taken the act on the road. I just asked through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Rourke that we're going to have inspectional services at that meeting to let us know the status, this chronology that's gone on there, and why nothing's been done, and when pending this new ordinance does get approved, what action can be taken from there on in. So I just want to make sure that inspectional services will be there on Monday evening to get some answers for these residents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Council. Council Leary.
Just through you, Mayor, to the city manager, just this ordinance, will this assist you in helping to resolve this issue?
Mr. Manager.
Specifically, these two ordinances, there's the nuisance posting and then there's the minimum standards. Those coupled together will help us, and it is directed, let me put it this way. I asked Mr. Eric Slagle to make sure he drafted an ordinance that would address the Coelho property and any other properties like it. So I'm confident once these two are passed by the city council, we will have the tools necessary to enforce cleanup of the Coelho property and other properties like it.
Okay, so I just, kind of, one, thank you for coming down. I apologize for having to come down multiple times. I'm going to support the ordinances. Obviously, I supported the first one. So I think this is an area where we can improve, an area where you've taken specific action. Now we need to make sure we implement it and actually have results. So as Councilor Mercer said, really put some closure to this issue, and let's improve it, let's end it. I think this is proactive, and I'm definitely going to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. I think you're correct in that the second ordinance will certainly be the ordinance that once we approve and amend the code of ordinance will be the teeth, if you will, to deal with the issue up on Princeton Boulevard. My question has to do with the ordinance currently before us in the section on penalties, where we talk about for the first violation, it's a $100 fine and then $300 for all subsequent offenses. Again, this just has to do with postings and putting things in windows and so forth. But my question is, can these fines be leaned on the property in the event that they're not paid?
Mr. Manager.
I can address, in the nuisance posting is not only for windows, but also, I don't know if you've noticed, I notice it, is that there are more and more entities that are posting things on our streetlight poles, on stop signs. It looks terrible. And I see it in the morning when I'm walking, and this will address that, which is just littering in the tape that they put it on with. It's impossible to remove the posting. So it will be, I think it's going to help with that unsightly looks. But as far as the leaning on the property, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Can you?
Once these fines if fines are issued and pursuant to this ordinance, then if unpaid, they would eventually be liened against the property as part of an unpaid tax fee or charge.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Rowe.
And just a point of interest for it, Monday night, Mr. Mayor, that's March 14th, as the manager spoke about, there'll be a neighborhood services subcommittee held at Temple Emmanuel at 101 West Forest Street. That's this Monday night. The agenda items that the manager spoke of will be on there. And it'll be at 7 p.m., once again, Mr. Mayor, at 101 West Forest Street and Temple Emmanuel. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion approved, seconded. Roll call on the motion.
It'll be publicized, yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercier.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samara.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
The third public hearing is an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances in the City of Lowell, Massachusetts, as amended, Chapter 227 thereof, entitled Property Maintenance, Article 1, Minimum Exterior Standards, by creating a new section thereof. We'll open up the hearing on behalf of the proponents. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor?
Go ahead. No, I'll be very brief. So this is the second part of the two ordinances that the council had requested to deal with the minimum standards. As Councilor Milonazo had noted, this is the one that specifically deals with the commercial minimum maintenance, and I believe it does provide us the tools and the teeth to handle some troublesome commercial properties. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak in favor?
Hi, Armin Hebert, 499 Wilder Street. I was a little confused because they brought their thing up under things, and I figured they'd be ruled out of order, but former Mayor Bud Caulfield spoke very passionately on this article. I've seen this lady's property. I've driven by it myself after her being here a few weeks ago. This guy has done nothing to clean up his property, to do anything with it. And it's time to make him pay for it. I don't know if anybody's contacted the EPA. I guess there was oil tanks removed. There's certain protocol you got to go through to get this stuff done. And under this article here, maintenance, that should really cover it. And I mean, it's time for the city and the council with the manager to take hold of this guy and either shut him down, get the EPA in there, make sure when he did remove those oil tanks, if he removed them illegally, that property can be taken off him for that. Because there's rules and regulations, especially through the EPA, as far as oil tank removal and everything like that. This woman needs to get something done here, because I drive by that property at least once or twice a week, and nothing's being changed over there. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak in favor?
Good evening. My name is Anne Marie Page. I live at 26 Fremont Street in Lowell. I sit on the executive board of the citywide Centerville Neighborhood Action Group and president of the Citywide Neighborhood Council. Minimum standards is our favorite word in Centerville and throughout the city. Two favorite words, you're right. It is two favorite words. So we definitely support this. We've already thanked the manager on the NEED program. It is working. We're getting there. And a special thank you to Eric, who came to our rescue, because over in Centerville, mattresses multiply like rabbits, and we tend to lean them up against wooden structures. So he's come to our rescue on that. So we know we're going in the right direction, and we realize sometimes you get into little legal hang-ups, but at least we're headed in the right direction. And thank you for your hard work, and minimum standards is definitely our favorite. 2 words. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who wish to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Anybody who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the opponents. What's the wishes of the council?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Leary. Discussion on the motion. Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we discussed it. Most of the discussion took place prior to, but I don't see any on the minimum maintenance fines or anything attached on the memo about fines, and I'd like to, I wonder if the manager can answer that, or the solicitor.
Mr. Manager.
Or Mr.
I'd
Slagle.
ask Mr. Slagle, could you respond to the issue about fines for violating this ordinance?
Certainly. This ordinance is just adding a section to a pre-existing minimum maintenance ordinance that already lays out fines and violations of $100 for violating the minimum maintenance portion of the ordinance.
So it's $100, the first offense?
It is, yes.
You think that's adequate, Mr. Slagle?
It's consistent with the minimum maintenance violations that the city council has adopted over the years.
$100 may have been a lot of money a long time ago, but it's not such a lot of money anymore.
But it's a daily fine.
Per day?
Yeah, so it keeps running, so if they don't obey it, it's accumulating every day. so.
Okay, that makes a whole new, okay, $100 a day. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. That's sufficient.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
That concludes the public hearings for the evening. Now we'll move on to item 4.2, which is a communication from the city manager requesting out-of-state travel for one person of the Lowell Police Department. Discussion? We have a motion to approve. Motion to approve by Council Milonazo, second by Council Rourke. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
The next item is a vote for the application acceptance and expenditure of $3 million from the United States Economic Development Administration to fund the Signature Bridge, utility connections over the Pawtucket Canal, and associated approaches with the Hamilton Canal District. We have a motion to approve. Motion approved by Council Leary, second by Council Leahy. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have an ordinance, this will be the first reading, authorizing the city manager to apply and expend $3 million from the United States Economic Development Administration. Oh, that's not,
We just did that.
an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances in the city of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 266 entitled Vehicles and Traffic.
Motion to waive the
We've-
full second reading.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to refer to a public hearing on March 22nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. That motion from Counsel Elliott, seconded by Counsel Belanger. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Under subcommittee reports, the Personnel Subcommittee of March 8th did not meet this evening. And
That's correct.
the matters before that subcommittee are now with the ad hoc committee.
Correct.
Correct. And just, Mayor,
Yes,
that
Counsel.
ad hoc committee will be meeting next Tuesday at 5:30 to take up the same issues.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next, under 8.1 petitions, we have a petition requesting the installation of a handicap parking sign at 782, 784 Merrimack Street. Chair would entertain a motion to refer to the traffic engineer for a report and recommendation. We have a motion to that effect by Counsel Leary, seconded by Counsel Mercia. Counsel Mercia.
Since we have 70-degree weather in this area here lately, if we could possibly do a 60-day trial in case, before we get a snowstorm for this gentleman. Thank you.
Okay, by general consent, Counsel Mercia is asking that it be amended to a 60-day trial.
Yeah.
Hearing no objection, it'll be like that. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we have city council motions. We have a motion by Councilor Mercia requesting that the city manager of the proper department investigate persons responsible for repeatedly dumping mattresses, bed frames, trash, debris, and other items on Lawrence Street with the possibility of installing cameras to them.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion is in response to frequent visits that our DPW have to make to constantly pick up the bed frames, the mattresses, the trash, the TVs, etc., that is deposited in a heap in the area of around 576 Lawrence Street, time after time. While we call ahead and pay a fee for a pickup, others put the burden on the rest of us, and I, for one, am tired of this debacle. Because these items do not come with a name or an address, we do our part to remove the nuisance stuff from a main gateway in the city, which is Lawrence Street. It's a main thoroughfare, and it's an eyesore. People coming into our city, seeing within not even an alleyway, but in a doorway, all these things, because I went and I looked, and it isn't the first time that it's there. My question through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager is, do we have a system that can keep track of how often the same address gets attention? Can we monitor the frequency by which trash is dumped at the same place time after time? I'd like to propose a monitoring system by which we target the spot of illegal dumping and set up a mobile camera with a night lens to track license plates. And finally, assign a solid waste inspector to begin this problem, because I don't even know who's responsible for this. So I'm tired of allowing culprits to deface this city with their bulk litter. And I say, let them pay for their actions instead of the people like us who follow the law. So it's a frustrating situation. We have dumpsters at the DPW where we pick up stuff in the city, and it costs us like $500 to empty that. That's put on all of us, and it isn't fair to the people that haphazardly feel, I'm going to dump it over there, nobody is going to do anything about it. It's like years ago when we had the graffiti issue. It was just let go, and it was here and there and there. We got on top of it, and people were discouraged because we came and took it off as soon as they put it on. I want the same thing to happen, but I want the perpetrators to be caught. I want to set an example that you want to dump somewhere and do it time and time again. Well, it's not going to happen because we just caught you. So I'm a fan of the cameras that we can, and I think that the recycling solid waste, I think they have a couple of cameras that they could spare to targeted properties like that. So I hope you understood me. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Council. Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I support the motion. It's a very good motion because it's an important issue, and it's happening. Council Leahy and I made a motion on First Street in Centerville, same thing. It's a constant dumping ground, tumbles down to the boulevard. We have a few areas that are real hotspots on this, and one point that bears mentioning is that we have a great service in the city. UTEC on Hurd Street will pick up mattresses and recycle them for free. So maybe residents don't know. I think in this case, it's someone who knows who's just dumping and knows what they're doing. But that's a service I'd like to be proactive on, have outreach to the residents of the city that mattresses can be picked up at no charge by UTEC located on Hurd Street. And you're helping our inner city kids at the same time. So I think that bears mentioning. But Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager now, we have not yet voted on the approximate $350,000 for cameras in the city, but if it does get approved, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager, that will include mobile units that we can target areas like this, whether it's new, old, consistent or not, and to help combat dumping and crime and whatnot. Do I stand correct?
Mr. Manager.
Yes, and it's an excellent motion because not only are we talking about monitoring these areas where there's dumping, but we want to use those monitoring systems for panhandlers also, because one of our tactics is if we take a mobile camera and keep it on those panhandlers and get them on camera, littering, stopping cars by getting out into the roadway, other things, then we'll be able to hopefully deal with the panhandling issue more appropriately. So, yeah, the mobile cameras, I think, will be very helpful to us.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I am all for that. On Bridge Street, I was approached. There's 2 lanes going towards downtown. They now walk through the middle lane, knocking on windows, walking in traffic. So these panhandlers just continue to get more brazen in their bidding, and this is a good way to combat that. Thank you very much, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? On the motion, all in favor? All opposed? So voted. The next item is a motion by Councilor Samaras, requesting that the city manager of the proper department present a timetable regarding changes of lights at the intersection of Route 38 and 133. Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. And to the city manager, the original motion that I had made spoke to creating a left-hand signal going from Nesmith Street to Andover Street at that intersection. And you stated that it will be done on your original report. But actually, that beyond just the light, that the entire intersection will be fixed. Could you give us a timeline at some point so the people will know in that area when it will happen? Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted. The next motion of the evening is by Councilor Samaras. Request that the city manager have the traffic engineer develop a traffic plan during the close of NL bridges for repairs. Second by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. And to you, Mr. Manager, I think you know more than anybody that traffic is the much discussed subject in this city and the complaints about traffic. And we know, actually, when you see so much traffic, it is a sign that the city's doing well. That's why we have the traffic. And so sometimes you really should look at it as a good sign. But it's hard to convince people who are caught up in the traffic for long periods of time that the city's doing well. My concern is, as we begin to close the NL bridges, we're just going to create more difficult traffic situations. And I'm asking that you have the traffic engineer and the police department work to ensure that there's established truck routes and bus routes if changes have to be made because of the closing of the bridges, rather than, we'll say, them taking it onto them, especially trucks, taking it onto themselves to make certain type of shortcuts through neighborhoods. What I'm looking at is to make sure that the neighborhoods or the businesses around those bridges are completely aware of what has to happen. My concern is that if the contractors themselves are left to do a lot of the work when they set up the barrels and things like that, they'll set up conditions good for them, but not necessarily for traffic. Because I believe on Bridge Street, even you stepped into a situation where you had to suggest the moving of some barrels to open up some lanes that would cause it a great deal of difficulty. So sometimes what we have is a simple common sense approach. So I'm not asking for a major plan, but I think as each bridge closes, that they should look at it in such a way that the neighbors will know how it'll, the neighbors or the businesses within that area will know how it'll affect them. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? Counselor Leahy.
Sure, thank you. Through you to the manager, when we repair these bridges, is there any way we can force their hand and make them move the timeline, you know, have a faster repair schedule as far as like having them do at least 2 shifts or, you know, maybe not 3 shifts through the night, but is there any way we can insist on that?
Mr. Manager.
Actually, the federal funding that we got for the Tiger Grant flows through the Department of Transportation and the Commonwealth, so it'll be the Department of Transportation that is actually overseeing the replacement of the bridges. So we'll talk to the Department of Transportation. We're already meeting with them and see if they can do an expedited replacement of the bridges because of the traffic issues that would be associated with closing them down.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Leahy and Councilor Rourke requesting that the city manager meet with proper departments to explore the possibility of constructing a coaches storage building at Colley Stadium. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. So this motion came about through the efforts of a few people, some coaches, people in the community. With the construction that's going on at the Songus, we've got to move some equipment out of store, where we have the police academy physical gym, whatever you want to call it, over at the Songus. So that needs to move. They're constructing locker rooms. At Colley Stadium, we have some trailers that are broken down, dilapidated, and they need to basically be removed. So our thought was that it'd be a good spot over at Colley Stadium to construct a building that could be used basically first floor as a gym with the workout equipment for Lowell High students and in coordination with the Lowell Police Academy. And if it were built properly, there would be a couple of meeting rooms on the second floor for coaches. So not knowing what to call it, I just kind of put coaches storage building. So that's basically what the motion is about. I know that through discussion that there are many people that are interested in this. So after my colleague speaks, maybe what we should do also is just have, through your office, a meeting on site with the interested parties to see where this could be constructed, how it should be constructed, and what the final project should look like. And I will say that that the first initial phase of this, we were thinking of some sort of a simple building, which could have been done at no cost to the city through some donations and maybe some grants. That's what we were looking at. So we weren't looking to construct a big building and burden the city. We were just looking to take care of some needs. But that discussion can come up when we meet with all interested parties and to see what people who have the most input, input on the process, the Parks Department, high school, and city manager and things like that. So I think that would be a good way to start. Thank you.
Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just what Councilor Leahy has said, there seems to be a lot of interested parties in helping out with this project. It's almost $100,000 worth of equipment that could go to waste if something's not done with it. And instead of just storing it somewhere, not being touched, if something can be done maybe to to look into something that could be utilized through a partnership between the police department, the high school, and the students. I think, cost being, relative, if something could get done at a low number, I think that'd be good for all. So thank you.
Thank you, Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Councilor Leahy and Councilor Rourke, the motion reads that you would like the city manager to meet with the proper departments to explore the possibility of constructing a coach's storage building at Colley Stadium. With this motion, it seems that you're asking for a storage building for the coaches. If this is what you're asking for, I don't know what type of a cinder block type storage shed or whatever that would be, but it appears like that from this motion. Or are you looking for a state-of-the-art field house with showers, weight room, coach's storage? Because if the latter is what you are looking for, then your motion does not indicate that. Because councilors, makers of the motion, the reason I ask this is that the plans, the architectural designs have been in the works for the past 2, maybe even 3 years, and a very influential, interested person contacted former Mayor Edward Bud Caulfield, and he made him aware of these plans. So this is already in the works. It is nothing new. Mr. Manager, did you receive a call from former Mayor Caulfield willing to arrange a meeting with this gentleman about these plans recently?
Mr. Manager.
Yes.
Good, because if you could keep the city council informed as to this gentleman's plans, because there's already plans on the table. It's just that we haven't heard about them, but he's already indicated he intends to do something. So if you could just meet with him and keep us informed. Thank you.
Council Leary.
No, I think it's a good motion. I think Councilor Mercer's statements are good as well. I've heard of this when I was on the school committee, the same issues. So I think it's good to revive it. I'm glad that it's coming to fruition because some of the, anecdotally what I've heard is what Councilor Mercer was talking about, a grand vision of, like you're talking showers, meeting rooms, weight facilities. So I think the motion and some of the prior discussions that I've heard for a long time, it's kind of good that it's all kind of coming together at this point. And I think, obviously, it's probably more than I know because I only know periphery of stuff I've heard when I was on the school committee regarding this. So it's a good thing. I think it's a positive thing. That's, when I was thinking of this motion, I was thinking there's larger issues we should be tying in as well. I remember issues about the baseball field and some of the structures around that. I know there was a committee and a group of folks that got together to raise money, and I'm thinking of the names right now. I won't mention because I'm going to miss people, but it's a jewel of the city that, that it's something that we need to take care of. Something having an additional structure would add more benefit to it. I don't know how that might even tie into the new high school, but it's stuff that it's a good time to look at it. And if someone else is going to come in and fund it and has that wherewithal and desire to do it, I think we should definitely get on board and help them in any way we can to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion? All opposed, so voted. Next motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Belanger to request that the city manager provide a report regarding youth service programs and jobs for the upcoming summer months. Motion seconded by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'd just like to, I know it's early March, but I'd like to get the ball rolling as chairman of the Youth Services Subcommittee to get roll out the summer jobs program for our inner city kids. It's very important. I don't have to stress how important it is to keep inner city kids occupied during the summer months. It's very, very important to me, and I know my colleagues. So, Mr. Manager, if you wouldn't mind doing some investigating, see what we have compared to last year. I know we had a very good year last year as well. Let's see how we can expand on it. So with that being said, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to refer this to the Youth Services Subcommittee for a hearing. Thank you very much.
Okay. Council Belanger is asking that his motion be sent to the Youth Services Subcommittee for a meeting. That's seconded by Councilor Leahy. Any discussion on that? All in favor? All opposed? So voted. The last 4 motions of the evening are mine, so I'd ask that the Vice Chairman take the podium.
Motion 9.6 of the evening by Mayor Kennedy. Request city manager have police department take proper action to curtail racing on Pawtucket Boulevard. Second by Councilman Nazo. Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion is in response to a communication that came into the mayor's office regarding racing on the Pawtucket Boulevard. My recollection as a longtime resident of the city is that this periodically comes up and probably goes back to the 50s or maybe before then. But since that communication has come in, there's been other people who have also echoed their concern for racing on Pawtucket Boulevard, and so maybe the manager can have the police department look into it. And that's basically it on this one.
Any other comments? If I can real quick, Mr. Manager, I also got a couple of phone calls concerning vehicles termed as low riders that most of the time partake in this type of drag racing. If you just get an ordinance or the city has any type of laws in effect concerning those type of vehicles. Thank you. On the motion, all those in favor? All those, thank you. 9.7, motion by Mayor Kennedy. Require the city manager have the DPD provide a report on the survey of downtown property owners regarding the BID, Business Improvement District, in the central business area. Second by Councilor Samaras. Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As most of you know, I've been very interested over the past couple of years of having a business improvement district in the downtown area. I think it would do a lot to improve the downtown area and the situation down there and the environment down there. We've had a couple of meetings. The subcommittee's had a couple of meetings. We've watched a film that was put together by Catherine Gallagher on bids, and the subcommittee has asked that the Division of Planning and Development conduct a survey. My understanding is that the survey is not completed. I don't know that, but that's my understanding, and it's also my understanding that that the Economic Development Director has been working with Attorney Gallagher on this issue. But I think that, we have been talking about this now for several years. It's somewhat controversial, but I think that the first step has to be to do that survey, to find out who's in favor of doing it in the downtown area and who would be opposed at this time. And then, maybe we can have discussions and educate the people that are opposed, and maybe bring everybody into the in favor column.
Any other discussion? Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I do support the motion. I would love nothing more for a bid to take place in our downtown. It's more or less an assessment on property owners, not a tax, an assessment that goes into a pool, and it can be used for improvements, beautifications, lighting, all sorts of improvements. But nonetheless, you need a rather large percentage of ownerships to jump on board. So it's still well worth investigating. I do support it wholeheartedly. But there's also other avenues, if the maker of the motion wouldn't mind including that. You can also include parking improvement districts where meters, there's an upcharge on meters, and that goes towards the improvements of the same thing. If the bid isn't too well received by property owners, that could more or less be a plan B, I guess. But I support the mayor's motion either way, but I wonder if you just wouldn't mind including that, to include in the response a parking improvement district as maybe an alternative to, just to see the potential there as well, just to explore it. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think the Council Belanger has a very interesting idea, and it's an idea that I think is a good one. This motion just asks for the study to be done, a survey more or less, to see who would be in favor of it and who wouldn't. And the motion would also find out whether or not the University and Middlesex Community College were going to participate in a bid. I think that when we get to the next step, that would be the time to talk about whether or not we can do something with the parking that would also further enhance the downtown area. So I guess I wouldn't want it as an amendment right now, but certainly that's a good idea and something that should be part of the discussion as we move forward.
Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. I too think this is a very good motion. This has been discussed quite a bit, but I think if you're going to have members of the Department of Planning and Development visit some of these landlords to make sure that they have the video and other materials that are pertinent to this type of program to ensure that they're fully aware what the bid is all about, what they're talking about. Thank you.
Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Okay, I mean, I will go along with the mayor's recommendations. If he feels that it might impose on his, then I'll go along with it. But I do plan on being involved in the discussion, so I'll bring it up when the time is right. So thank you very much, Mr. Vice Mayor. Thank you.
Maybe a motion next week, Councilor?
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes. Motion 9.8 of the evening by Mayor Kennedy. Request that the City Council Public Safety Subcommittee schedule a meeting to meet with a representative from General Electric to discuss GE Intelligent Cities, which provides smart, connected street lighting with Wi-Fi, cameras, and other sensors like gunshot detection, all built in and supported by GE Data Analytics Platform Predix. Second by Councilor Leahy.
That's quite a motion, isn't it, Mr. Chairman? The motion, it was this, I guess I'd like to take credit for this motion, but actually this was a communication that came in from, into the mayor's office, and they were requesting a meeting with me, and I thought that rather to save them a step, in order to save them a step, it would be better to have them meet with the subcommittee. You know, we have been talking about gunshot detection. We've been talking about cameras and so forth, and I think it might be good for the Public Safety Committee to meet with the representative from GE and just take a look at what other options are out there and what kind of technology and software is available and see if any of it is a good fit for our city. I did have a brief discussion with Council Leahy, who is the chairman of that subcommittee, and he indicated that he may have an additional person who also would like to make the same type of presentation to the subcommittee. So yeah, I'd leave that up to Council Leahy, but that's what this motion is about.
Thank you. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I do support the motion. Anything that will help us, assistance in that regard, I'm all for. But Mr. Vice Mayor, through you to the manager, now Verizon was here last week, and they said you had an upcoming meeting on literally the same topic. So I'm just through the Vice Mayor to you, how did that meeting take place yet, and how did we make out?
Mr. Manager.
They've been meeting with we've had a meeting already with Verizon to discuss how, you know, with public safety and other entities within the city, how we could incorporate plans like this. You know, there's a number of different vendors we can look at with similar things. It's all really about price and really how high-end technology they are. We still haven't found the technology to really do the shot detection system the way we want, but we can always look at different presentations and see if they fit the bill for what we need in the city.
I agree. There's no harm in shopping around, entertaining Mayor Kennedy's motion or potentially Councilor Leahy's upcoming motion. Sure, no harm in that. Thank you very much.
Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. It's funny, the morning, Friday morning, I spoke to a businessman in the area he's an electrician. He's got a pretty big company that he runs in the area, and he was asking me about, before I even saw this motion, about speaking to us about the camera issue, because he's got a vendor that, I don't understand the whole gist of it, but they can tie everybody's cameras into one system, so you piggyback off of everybody. So the city could put up 20 cameras, UMass Lowell has 100 cameras, and someone else has cameras, and this system ties everybody together, so you kind of share cameras throughout the city. So I had mentioned that to the mayor, that you know, while we're having this discussion, we should hear from everybody and get all our options available to us. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments? Councilor Manazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. It's my understanding that the Lowell Housing Authority is right now updating their camera program. In fact, they're working very closely with the Lowell Police Department to do just what Councilor Leahy said, that they have 141 cameras. They're updating them, and they're going to be able to be looked at the Central Police Department. So I think that it's a good idea to get interested parties around the table. My question is, does security like this fall outside of Chapter 30B, or is this something that would have to be bid?
These would all have to go through the public procurement process.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Final motion of the evening by Mayor Kennedy. Require the city manager consider sending the proper personnel to attend the International Council of Shopping Centers New England Conference to be held in Boston this summer. Second by Councilor Mercia. Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This motion is a result of a ribbon cutting that I went to this week over at the Central Plaza where Zayas used to be, for those who remember those times. And in speaking with the owner of the property, they told me that they had some difficulty in securing a tenant for the space until they made certain adjustments. And they learned to make those adjustments from conferences like this. So what occurred to me is that, you know, we have an economic development subcommittee, we have a downtown development subcommittee, but also over at the Division of Planning and Development, there are people who may benefit from workshops. And I know they've got one this weekend at the Wharton School in Philadelphia, which is unreasonable to expect that anybody's going to rush out there for this weekend. But there is they are going to hold them in Boston over the summer. And so I did have a discussion with the manager about this. I think that if we take a look at what workshops they're offering, that some of them might be beneficial for us and maybe enlighten us into how retailers think, which would be a good thing for the downtown and I think a good thing for the city.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I support the motion, and count me in.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion passes. Section 10 of the agenda, announcements. Any announcements? Since I'm up here, if I may, I'd like to thank Mr. Healy for his time as auditor for the city of Lowell. He's, a jack of all trades, so I'm sure, Mr. Manager, when you're on vacation, he'll fill in for you as well. So, Mr. Healy, thank you very much for your time and your efforts. With that, motion to adjourn. Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Leary. Good night.